We've been treated to a lot of great basketball. This past weekend, a lot of SEC teams played neutral site games. Even though Alabama was just down the road from their home in Tuscaloosa, they played in Birmingham against the #1 team in the country in Arizona. The first half looked good, but the second half did not, as the Wildcats raced away with a 57-34 run in the last half of that game. The final 20 minutes, they out-rebounded them as well, and they got a big win in the state of Alabama before they head out back to Tucson. Welcome to Southeast Sports Plus. I'm Gerhard Mathangani, joined by Patrick Walsh. Patrick, this is a game that we were really excited about going into the weekend because it was another test for Alabama. But I'll tell you what, Arizona looked really good against Auburn the entire game, and we talked about Koa Pete and company. When this team really needed to turn it to a different gear against Alabama, they did so in a big way.
It's so interesting because all last week, we talked about this game twice. I think we talked about it Wednesday, and then we also talked about it on Friday.
Right.
And all week we were talking about, all right, how is Alabama going to slow down Koa Pete and the sensational freshman over there at Arizona?
Right.
Well, they did that. They held them to, I believe, 6 points.
Yep.
The problem is, we also talked about Arizona doesn't really shoot the three that much.
Don't.
You know, they rank way low in attempts per game. I think they were like 300 something.
Out of 365, they were like 363.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do they do? I don't know. We'll just rain down 10 3-pointers. You average 6.4 makes per game, 282nd in Division I.
Yeah.
And it was just like, all right, well, you know, I think we should finally unlock this weapon. We should probably, you know, you've been waiting for it all year. You're trying to find the right time to pull out all the 3-pointers. And, yeah, why don't you just do it in Birmingham?
Right. Yeah, and Coach mentioned that he mentioned it kind of in laughing in a joking phase. He was like, they might just come out. He was talking specifically about Koa Pete, but he was like, hey, they might come out and just unleash something we haven't seen all year long, and it looks like they did there behind the 3-point line because they have been, as you mentioned, they have not been not only they don't make a lot of them. They don't really even attempt as much, but I think they knew going into Alabama, hey, they're going to give us a 3-point shot. If we're in a new building, might as well go ahead and shoot it and see how it goes. And for them, it went well.
Yeah, and I think it was when you look at Tommy Lloyd and what he said last week about his team not really shooting the 3-pointer as much. It's just been because the getting into the paint has been what's worked for them.
Correct.
And there's been no real point in shooting threes when you have a higher percentage shot available to you. And the big storyline last week was, okay, can Alabama drain enough threes to outdo the consistency of the 2-point baskets for Arizona, and it just did not work. It was a great first half, as you mentioned, for Alabama, but the second half, it just looked like they were shell-shocked.
Yes.
And Arizona came out through the first punch, and Alabama didn't know how to react.
Yeah.
That's my takeaway from it.
Right, and Bama came out with a great game plan, and they executed really well to start this game. But when we have talked about the rebounding on this team, and Coach Oates has talked about this almost ad nauseum about how this team, when they rebound at a high clip, they are one of the best teams in basketball because they can shoot it. They play with tempo. They play with pace. When they're beat out on the boards, it's over.
Just look at the Purdue game. That's the main one that we were talking about before this game, and then now you can look at this game as well. But I tell you what, the crowd there in Birmingham was definitely into it.
Oh, no doubt. Sellout crowd out there.
It was rocking in the first half. But just like the team, I think all of the fans were shell-shocked. I was also surprised at how many Arizona fans made the trip out.
Yeah, me too.
Their section looked pretty good. But there was one guy that did lead the way for Arizona, and his name's Braden Berries. And I jokingly said Berries, 5 from deep, 5 from 10 there from beyond the arc, 28 points, and just another freshman. Him between Berries and Koa Pete, man, Arizona's got some electric freshmen on that team that are probably going to lead this team pretty far.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And this has been a really fun team to watch from the outside looking in. But, of course, they played a couple of SEC teams, so we got a chance to see them up close and personal. Auburn, of course, going to Tucson, and Arizona coming to the state of Alabama. But we talked about the playmakers for Alabama and the guys that they've really relying upon. Guys like LeBaron Philon, guys like Latrell Wrightsell, and they have been solid, so to speak, but it feels like there needs to be another gear with these leaders in order to beat the upper echelon of college basketball.
Well, I mean, they combined for 35 points in the loss, and then once Arizona went on that big run and Alabama was down by a lot, it seemed like Phylon just became a ball hog, so to speak. When I started watching, I watched the whole game, but once Arizona jumped out to that big lead, it seemed like LeBaron was just trying to play me ball a little bit and just trying to get them back into the game. I know he took a lot of threes after they were down big, and that's just what Alabama does this year. But I just think this Alabama team needs to find someone that will step up in the 4 or the 5 spot.
Yeah.
Because as you mentioned, this isn't the first time that they've gotten out rebounded. This is starting to become a recurring problem here.
Yeah.
And all this problem signifies to me is early exit in March.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a scary time for Nate Oates because, how can you just predict your guys to not play with effort? Because rebounding, I hate to break it to everybody, rebounding is just effort.
Yeah.
It takes effort to box out the guy. It takes effort to go up and grab the board. It takes effort to get down the floor as well. And it's just shocking that this Alabama team is kind of playing with little to no effort, but it also kind of shocks you that they've won so many games already. Right.
And when they do play, when they do get up for teams, that's when they really play well. I mean, they're out rebounded 52-32, but the key number was the offensive rebounds for Arizona. 22-3. I mean, it's too many second chance points, too many second chance opportunities, and it showed it on the
How can
on
you
the
win
box
a game
score.
like that?
You
just can't.
They shot Arizona shot 84 times. Bama shot 56 times.
Usually, Bama's the one shooting it 84 times.
Right. But they got so many second chance points because they were out rebounding Alabama, especially on those offensive rebounds. And head coach Nate Oates has been kind of singular with this messaging. And he was not happy once again after another blowout loss.
Yeah, call timeout and tell him play harder. Or call timeout and make adjustments. I'm not going to call timeout and tell him play harder. These guys are supposed to be competitors. Compete, play hard. So I didn't think there was any defensive adjustments to make. The adjustment was made to play hard. So if the adjustments to play harder, they need to figure that out on the fly.
I noticed two things there. Number one, Nate Oates kind of singing the same song over and over again, but his leader on the backside, it looked like LeBaron was right there in lockstep with him. Like, hey, we don't need that timeout called for you to tell us to play harder. We need to play harder. And I think that's a good message for LeBaron Phylon to hear and then help be the coach on the floor when they need it, because I think Arizona went on a 28-6 run at one point there to start the second half.
Yeah.
And in that run, Nate Oates did not call a timeout. He just tried to let his guys play through.
And that's the one thing I did also notice. It was like, okay, why did Nate Oates not call a timeout to somewhat stop the bleeding here? Because it just seemed like Arizona one basket, another basket, and then once they started reining in the short to mid-range shots, that's when the three-pointer started to fall as well. So it was just adding salt to the wound, and I was just waiting. And I was like, okay, when's the timeout coming? When's the timeout coming? Because we just see it so often when these teams go on these big runs. It's like, okay, you got to stop the bleeding. I don't know if Nate Oates was just waiting for the under 14 media timeout. That's the one that was the run that kind of defined the end for Alabama there. But when you look at leaders on the floor, it's got to be LeBaron Phylon, and I don't know if the message was directly at him or if it was directed at some other players, but it seemed like he got the message or he was just agreeing to the message. So he might have thought that, hey, I totally agree with you, Coach. There's some players on this team that's just not pulling their weight. And again, I don't care where you're ranked in the preseason.
Yep.
We just saw this problem with Texas this year in football. Preseason number 1 missed the college football playoff. You're not just going to make the NCAA tournament because you're ranked in the top 25 in the preseason. You still have to win the games. And, this is just one thing that kind of worries me about this Alabama team. Kind of like how what worries me with the football team is, the effort on the offensive line and getting the run game going. this is just one thing that kind of worries me about this Alabama team, and it makes me hesitant to want to say, all right, they're going to the Elite Eight, they're going to the Final Four,
right,
and Alabama's going to have two teams in the Final Four, or a team in the Final Four in back-to-back years.
No, I don't think so either. And it's kind of hard to make a Final Four that when you compare them to what the top level of college basketball is. You think about Arizona, you think about Michigan.
They're so far away from everyone else right now. It's just not even close.
Right.
You could maybe put Duke in that category,
I
but
would, yeah.
even Duke hasn't blown out some of these teams like that.
No, not in the same way that Arizona is. And so now I think the good thing about going on the court and playing them is now Nate Oates has tangible evidence to go back and tell us, guys, this is how far away we are from top level basketball.
He's got two tapes?
Yeah, exactly. It's like literally this is it, and they can quantify it now instead of just it being theoretical. We got a chance to hear from Tommy Lloyd, and Bama's got a weakness. It's rebounding, and that's something he emphasized.
You know, I mean, man, he coached in so many games. I don't know. But we really wanted to come out and we wanted to put it to him on the glass. You know, I mean, we feel like we have an advantage there on most nights, and I think we were plus 20 on UConn a few weeks ago. Now they were missing one of their big guys, so let's factor that in as well. But, we knew a theme for the week for us, was, early energy, early effort, because against Alabama, you have to start your possessions like that. You can't ease into anything. And then the word we really hammered in on was endurance. You have to have competitive endurance against a team like that because they just keep coming at you. And our guys, I thought they did that. And then, we were able to, the game started okay. They made a little run. It felt like the place got going a little bit, and we didn't say anything crazy at halftime. We just, hey, let's see if we can come out and land the first punch and see what happens. And fortunately, we landed a few haymakers, made some defensive plays. Obviously, Braden got in his own little flow, and it was pretty special.
There's two more games in the non-conference before they open up league play. They'll play South Florida at home coming up on Wednesday, and then we have Kennesaw State coming up a little bit later on the 21st, and then Yale will close it out on the 29th. And there's just a few opportunities for head coach Nate Oates to tell his team, hey, these are things we need to execute before they open SEC play, because, by the way, they open SEC play with Kentucky and Vanderbilt. Those are the top two games. So this could be a really interesting 5-game stretch here to close out non-con and before they go into the SEC.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about Kentucky's struggles with these big games. They got a nice win, which we'll talk about tomorrow, over their old rival in Indiana. Mm-hmm. I know that rivalry, it was the first time played since 2016, I believe.
Right.
In a battle of two blue buds. So, that's going to be no cakewalk. It seems like Mark Pope's got those guys rolling over there. That game, there was definitely a lot more energy I've seen than in previous Kentucky games. But, you also look at Kennesaw State, and I believe earlier this season they led the country in three-pointers made.
Yes.
So, you can't really look over them either. So
right.
That game I'd probably expect there to be, let's see, about 50 three-pointers taken between the two teams. It's going to be, run down the court. Shoot a three-pointer.
Shoot a three. Come back.
Get the rebound. Run down the court.
Come back.
Shoot another three-pointer.
Yeah, exactly. I'm actually I'm looking this up right now to see the three-pointers attempted, because I think you're right. I think they're two of the top.
I think they made like 18 in their first game.
Right.
Kennesaw State, I'm talking about.
Yeah. It looks like Bama is obviously, as far as three-pointers attempted, they are top 5 in the country, along with Florida State, Youngstown State, Murray State, and a few others. But I remember that statistic that had come out that they were just absolutely destroying it as far as three-pointers made overall. But now I expect to see a ton of three-pointers attempted there in that matchup.
Yeah, and it's not going to get any easier for Alabama, but it's a long season. All you got to do, if your goal is to just make the tournament, just finish in the top half of the SEC this year, finish, in my opinion, I think top 8, and you're in. That's my guess.
Right.
8, you're definitely in. 9, you're on the bubble.
Probably on the bubble.
10, you're probably on the outside looking in.
Yeah, and so we'll see how they start SEC play coming into the league. 3 final games in the non-conference before that, though, starting up on a Wednesday.